Today is Monday, June 16th, 2025. We are on Zealand Trail, looking up at Z Cliff now, approaching the bridge through the beaver area. And we are doing an overnight. We're gonna come out here and take a left onto Ethan Pond, which is the AT. Go down to Thoreau Falls. Boy, it smells very strongly of something right there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Animal, yeah. And we're gonna go down, and this is gonna hit a bunch of things for us. So it's gonna finish up the end of Kerrigan Notch Trail. We're gonna do Shoal Pond Trail. We're going to get Shoal Pond Peak and Twintop Mountain, which are on the 500 highest. And we're going to try to visit the site of the marker for the 1959 airplane crash in the Pemi. There's two doctors flying. They crashed. It was winter, and they survived for 4 days before they succumbed to the cold, which is really quite a tragic story if you go on and Google it. So there is a plaque out there on Thoreau Falls Trail where it had been before they rerouted the trail across the North Fork of the East Branch of the Pemi. I believe that's the water that's there. So that's our plan. So we'll be coming up to our junction with Ethan Pond shortly. All right. It's pretty humid, not too buggy right now. We left around 9:15 from the car, parked at the Zealand Trailhead. Lots of parking there. It's a pay site. I think it's $5 a day, or if you have the America the Beautiful Pass or the White Mountains Parking Pass, you can park there, and there are 2 vault toilets. All right. Ooh, look at that little bird. What is that? He's out of here. He had a stripe on his eye. Okay. Looks like some kind of wren. Off we go. I think the total thing is going to be like 23 miles, but of course we've got a bushwhack in there, so who knows. All right, off we go. We are walking along Ethan Pond now, that's looking up at Whitewall from like the slidey area, and we just popped out of the woods. There's going to be a trail junction up here on the right. That is the Z Cliff Trail, the old route of the AT. It's quite steep. This is when you get to the trail intersection, you go really steeply down to Whitewall Brook, and then this is Z Cliff right here. And then Hale, when you get back a little further, you can see Hale. We've got, I can see Labrador tea blooming. I'm not zoomed in. Oh, there's a butterfly on it right down in there. I'm sure I will have some closer. Here's some right here. Labrador tea. And then a little bit rocky here, but it's quite flat. If you're up on Z Cliff and you look over at Whitewall, you can see it looks like a road practically going flat right along the side of Whitewall. Looking up to Whitewall. I guess if you climb the slide, you need to go right through there because there's those cliff bands at the top. We just had a trail runner coming at us, and we saw 2 people who were heading out after spending the night at the hut. And that's it so far. So yeah, the AT used to not go past the hut. It used to come down and either go up Z Cliff Trail if you were going northbound, or down it if you were going southbound. Part of Z Cliff Trail runs along an old slide. It's quite steep. So I think that, and there's a water crossing at the bottom, which can be impassable, I suppose. I mean, it's a pretty wide water crossing. So they changed that up. I don't know when it was. Not recently. Maybe in the 80s. I have no idea. Anyway, that's where we are now. We're about almost 4 miles in. All right. We're out at Thoreau Falls now. Ooh, buggy. Trail comes out of the woods. I think it actually comes out here, but we came out here. It was not well marked, and there's herd paths all over. And then it goes into the woods right there, I do believe. We've only been here one other time. It was torrential rain and my phone was put away to protect it. Water is not overly high right now. Just kind of looking down. Walk over here. Oh yeah. Pretty. Nice. Okay, we're gonna cross and then look to start our bushwhack up there somewhere. Look at this cool pothole right here. Neat. There's another one in there. Beautiful. We're out on the bushwhack now, a couple tenths of a mile in. The going hasn't been too bad. There's hobble bush, but this area is fern. And look what we just found. An antler. First time actually finding one. And it's been gnawed on. You can see the teeth marks maybe on it right there, up in here, and right over here. I guess antler and racks, whatever you want to call them, they are a good source of calcium for rodents. So there it is. I'm going to pick it up just to see how much it weighs, because I hear they weigh a lot. Let's see. I mean, I wouldn't want to carry it out on an overnight. Get back right where it is. All right. I don't think that's from this year. Last year, I guess. And are we heading okay?
Yeah, more or less.
I mean, a stick. I got to take it out with 2 hands.
The best way to go would be not the
easiest way.
Let's go the easiest way.
I'm gonna go the easiest way and then
cut
when I need to. Wow, that's cool. Okay, we made it to Shoal Pond Peak. Some of it was not bad and some of it was less good. I don't know how to, it wasn't terrible, but quite a bit of hobble bush in some areas. It got a little pokey. This is the canister. The summit area is kind of a big flat area, but it was not hard to find. And it's up quite a bit because there's a rock. I'd say it's at least 8 feet up. And then we're going to keep heading that way to get to Twintop Mountain. Lord help us. It's been a little slow going. Okay, we made it to South Shoal Pond Peak, otherwise known as Twintop, or what's the other one? Griffin? What's it called?
I don't know. Is this Twintop?
No, it's got another name also.
Oh, it says Quinn?
Quinn, that's what it is. There it is. Last sign-in was, I think, in March, and that person also signed in on the other, on Shoal Pond Peak, but they were not the last sign-in there. All right. Whew. That was easier bushwhacking, I would say. It had some areas that were quite nice. It also had like a bog. I guess it was a bog. It had running water in the middle. I was able to refill water, which was nice. And it was a little bit marshy, boggy in that area. And now we're going to try to head down and hit Thoreau Falls. Most people, I think, come into this from the southwest, which would put you pretty close down near the Wilderness Trail. And we don't want to be that far down. So, but it's also quite cliffy along the edge here. So you got to, whatever. I told John to hit the trail somewhere and we'll just walk up the trail because I want to go see the commemoration of the airplane crash. while we're out here. But we shall see. It's called planning on the fly. But yeah, glad that we're heading downhill now. So we are crossing the North Fork of the East Branch of the Pemigewasset River, I believe. Thoreau Falls Trail is up here. If you continue to the left, you'll hit Thoreau Falls. And we are crossing right now. It's kind of like a sandbar of rock right here. It's like, that's the best place to cross. Maybe back there. The old trail was on this side of the river. And that's where we're going so we can find the commemoration of the airplane crash. Whoa. The rocks roll. All right, we just popped out after crossing the water. It's about 20 feet from the edge of the water, and we kind of nailed it. We're right at the commemorative plaque. It says, at this site, February 21st, 1959, Dr. Ralph E. Miller with his passenger, Dr. Robert E. Quinn, successfully crash-landed his Piper Comanche following motor failure. Without food or proper clothing, the two survived 4 days of stormy 10-degree below zero weather before dying of exposure. The doctors were returning from consultations in the North Country to Hanover, New Hampshire. The memory of the courage and resourcefulness lives on. Their courage and resourcefulness lives on. That's placed right on the abandoned trail. So there's the corridor going north and going south. If you want to read about that crash, it's really rather sad, but also really interesting. I think Dr. Miller, he was older and he had kids, I believe. He was like a father figure to this other Dr. Quinn, and I think that they left notes for their kid. Like he left notes for his kids and stuff. Yeah, it's rough, and they were so close. They actually went down and kind of tried to scout out how to get out, but they didn't really know where they were. And if they had just crossed the river down there, they would have been like right on a trail. It was winter, so, but they were flying from Berlin. Okay, so that was a successful day. That's all we wanted to accomplish today. We're going to head south on the abandoned trail here and set up camp someplace. And then tomorrow, Wilderness Trail, Kerrigan Notch, Shoal Pond, and look for logging railroad remnants. Yep, that's what our plan is. We're coming down the abandoned trail, and we just got to a spot where all kinds of artifacts have been lined up. So we've got a whole bunch of horseshoes and parts of, I don't know, I know what that is, like a thing to move ice, I think. And then we've got some shovels and some pipes. I don't know what that is. A couple more things here, and then this looks more like skidders and parts of train stuff. Pretty cool. Okay, we're going to be crossing back over shortly, I think. Looks like the trail just kind of dies here too. Lots of moose poop. But I believe it does go a little bit further, and then the river is going to widen way out, and we're going to cross before that. And I think that the trail actually did cross there anyway before that, but there was a railroad spur that came up. So, and that, the end of it down near the Wilderness Trail is all flooded, I believe. So we don't want to get into flooded stuff. But there's a barrel right there. See it? Right over here. It might be near one of the camps. I'll have to look on my railroad camp map. Got a barrel and like maybe an axle or something. Pretty cool. Those are protected historical artifacts, so nobody should be moving them around or taking them. Okay. We're on the south end of Thoreau Falls Trail. Right up here is a big opening, which I'm sure is a logging camp, and I don't have access to my logging camp map, I don't think, so I don't know which number it was. But there's a harp switch laying on the ground right here, which is pretty cool. That was, this handle here sticks up usually higher, I think, and it was manually thrown, so like to direct onto a spur or a siding. That was how they did it back in the day. There are a couple more harp switches out here that I think are actually still intact and standing. I was hoping to be able to find one of them. Usually when the logging railroads shut down or they abandoned a section of rail, they usually came in and removed the rails. But I think it's Shoal Pond has a section that was flooded, and that's why they abandoned it. So the rails are still there, and the harp switch also, and you can see them underwater. And if it's like a drought, they might actually be like out, but we're not in a drought right now, so hopefully we'll be able to see them. Okay, we just did a water crossing. You might be able to see the footing to an old bridge. So this was a little tricky. My toes did get wet. And I'm not sure where the trail... It's Kerrigan. Oh yeah, I can see the tower actually. That's Kerrigan right there. I thought I could. Okay, I think the trail goes this way, maybe? It's hard to see over here. Everything's been washed out. We've only been here one other time, and it was low water, so we didn't have a problem getting across. Today was a little bit trickier, but that's okay. I think we'll come over this way. I do believe. Yeah, here's the rest of the footing right here. The other side. Yep. All right. That bridge is gone. At the end of Thoreau Falls Trail, after you cross the water, there's a spur trail, a spur rail line, abandoned spur rail line, that is off on the right-hand side. And so we went up there, set up our tent. There was obvious fire ring, things like that. And we had our dinner, and then I said, well, I want to walk down to the end of the spur and see what happens at the water. And this is what happens at the water. A big, beautiful campsite. Now, you're not supposed to be camping right next to the water, but again, Leave No Trace says to use established campsites, so that's what we're doing. And there's a perfect place for a bear hangout here. We've got the water right here. It looks quite nicely deep right there. I might go for a dip, maybe. So we packed up our tent and moved. And I'm a little mad that we didn't come down here before we had dinner, but that's all right. So there's two branches coming together right here. Pretty cool. And there's a piece of rail right here. There were a couple pieces of rail along the abandoned spur also. And there you have it. I don't know. I have to look at a map and see if it continued on across. I think it sort of ended here, but anyway, that's a nice campsite. I'm looking forward to that. We're trying out a new tent. It's the Durston X Dome 2. That big tree right there. So we'll see. We usually use a Big Agnes, I think it's a Copper Spur HLV3 person tent. This is a little bit lighter. So it's actually quite a bit lighter, but the Copper Spur is a beautiful tent also, and quite light for what it is. But we're gonna give this a try. It's Tuesday, June 17th, around 7:30 in the morning. We just left our excellent campsite from the night before, which was right at the confluence of the North Fork and the East Branch. And we are walking out the abandoned rail spur. And this will junction up with the very bottom of Thoreau Falls Trail. And we'll take the Wilderness Trail over to Stillwater Junction. Pretty buggy, mosquitoes mainly. We're at a water crossing now, right after leaving camp. Look at that, how big that water pipe is. There's some remnants of it right here too. That's pretty neat. This is an easy rock hop, at least today, so that's good. We've been walking on the Wilderness Trail now, and we just came through a very obvious logging campsite. That was, I think, Camp 18 of the North Branch and Lincoln Railroad. There's a bucket sitting here too, that's smushed, and some other pieces of things that don't belong to this stove or whatever. I mean, it looks like a stove to me. Okay, so that's pretty cool, just sitting on the side of the trail. Trail was on a railroad bed for a long way, really easy to follow, and then right before the logging camp, it just kind of got super overgrown, like a herd path going through there. Has obviously not been brushed or any maintenance on this trail in quite a while. Oh, there's some scat from something. Lots of deer prints out here, and look, moose. Not big moose, but moose nonetheless. All right. Wilderness Trail. We're still on the Wilderness Trail, and we've been walking along the East Branch of the Pemi for, I don't know, a while. Mile and a half, maybe longer. This is a nice area where you could pop out. And there's a little cascade right there. Goes around the corner to the left, and there's all these flat rocks. It's a pretty nice sized pool right there. I bet on a hot day it would be awesome to get in there. The trail is literally, we're not on a railroad grade right now, so it's running right next to this, about 2 feet in or less. All right, we're at a water crossing now at the end of the Wilderness Trail. There's actually a cairn, very hard to see. Let's walk by a bush. And we came down a hill to get here, right here. And if you look to the left, there's definitely trail going that way, but I think it's just people looking for a place to cross. But I can see the cairn, so I'm gonna go right here. All right. Next stop, we're gonna do the very end of Kerrigan Notch Trail down to Stillwater Junction. We are on Kerrigan Notch Trail. We just finished it up. Went to the intersection with Desolation Trail and turned around. It was 7/10 of a mile. We're slack packing. And it's really nice. It has sections like this that are like beautiful open woods. They're running along water. There's a couple established campsites up here too. One of them is really nice. I think I'm coming up on it. And then you also get areas where the logging regrowth is like super dense, and it's dark in the woods. It's like after the first water crossing that my other video showed, where there was a cairn that was hard to see. You duck into the woods there and it's almost like you need a headlamp. It was so dense. And then you pop out into stuff like this, and then you get into the dense again and pop out again. It's really nice. It's lightly raining, like really light, say sprinkling. And yeah, we left our packs at the other trail intersection, so hopefully they'll still be there. They should be fine. There's nobody out here. Okay, Kerrigan Notch Trail. This is the crossing right at the beginning of Shoal Pond. So there's an old cement kind of base right there. And then I'm standing next to another old one. No bridge. I think it was a dam, actually. Yes, this was the site of a dam, I think. So I just waded through. It came up to mid-shin in the deepest spot. And John just went across over there. He has on Gore-Tex shoes, but one of them seems to be leaking and is already wet, so I don't know. Okay, and then I think it goes this way. I think it goes the way you are.
Yeah, but do I need to do this section?
Yes, for it to count, you do. Okay. How wet are you? Not too bad?
Wet. I could be wetter. But...
Yeah. All right, we're gonna explore the joys of Shoal Pond, which I hear are not many. it's wet. Okay, so this area is known as the pool. It's mentioned in the White Mountain Guide, and it is quite a pool. Look at that. Nice. A little sliding rock area here. And an established campsite. It's right off trail. The trail is right here. And we just passed a logging camp. That was on the left-hand side as we came up. I didn't see any logging artifacts though. But this is the pool. We're about 2 miles up Shoal Pond now, and we just got into a section of bog bridges, which I understand there's a lot of bog bridges on this. And there were none in the first half of the trail, so they must be all up on the north end. And so far, I'm not disliking this trail at all. It is a bit overgrown, and everything is wet because it rained earlier, and it's got mud. Don't get me wrong. Definitely mud. But it is quite rock hoppable for the most part, and today I'm wearing my hiking sandals, so I'm just walking right through it. I'm liking it. Shoal Pond. Lots of bunchberry blooming. And Clintonia borealis, which is blue bead lily right there. And this is Canadian Mayflower. Also a common name of wild lily of the valley, because it smells just like lily of the valley if you get down and smell it. It's really good. All right, Shoal Pond. We're making our way. Not very fast, but it's nice. We're at the south end of Shoal Pond now. It just started raining as I stood here. There's the side of something. Is it the Willie? Is it Willie? It's Z-Cliff. Okay. All right. I was hoping to see a moose because we followed one all the way out here. And I kind of lost his track right at the south end of the pond. But I believe there's another little side path in about halfway up. So we'll go check that out. Shoal Pond. We're on Ethan Pond Trail now. We finished up Shoal Pond. It was okay. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it. It's definitely wet and muddy, but that's all right. This is, I think, the north branch. It is. This is the north branch of the north fork of the east branch of the Pemi. There is an actual bridge on it right here. And it is not the most stable feeling bridge. Like, it's moving and it's tilted, definitely tilted to the right as we're crossing. Doesn't seem like it's too long for this world, so that's unfortunate. All right, so around the corner up here, we'll be going out. We'll be kind of junctioning with Thoreau Falls, but we're gonna stay on Ethan Pond. Holy smokes, this bridge is moving like crazy. And it's not a suspension bridge, so that makes me a little worried. Well, we finished up Ethan Pond Trail, and now we're on Zealand Trail heading back out to the trailhead. And it's raining. Ethan Pond rained for almost the whole time. Once we got to the Z Cliff intersection, it kind of became constant rain. Not heavy. I don't even think it's moderate. It's light rain, but it's not stopping.
Like we're in a cloud.
Yeah, it's like we're in a cloud. I think that's true. So, pretty uneventful, except that the weather was totally wrong. So, tomorrow is kind of supposed to be a washout, but maybe this is tomorrow's weather early. I don't know. Hopefully. I'll wash my feet off a little. There we go. All right, so that was a successful hike overnight. We pretty much did everything we wanted to do. The only thing I didn't do was find one of the harp switches and the leftover rail that was flooded out on Shoal Pond. But I wasn't looking too hard, and we can always revisit that later. But everything else was good. And it's still nice. I'm not wearing any rain gear. I have on shorts and a t-shirt and sandals. And I'm not like in danger of hypothermia or anything. Very comfortable. So, good day. We've seen 6 people so far today. 3 heading to the hut and 3 on Ethan Pond with backpacks. They didn't look like through hikers though, but maybe they were. And that's it. If you want quiet, Shoal Pond and Thoreau Falls loop. We didn't see anybody on those. We've been on Thoreau Falls before and didn't see anybody that time either. So I think it's not very heavily trafficked. And if that's what you're looking for, that's a good place to go.